Right then guys, welcome back to the Team Crawl Wall. Yes, the last time that I scored a personal point as the final round to try and not make it bias or whatever, because you know, people know I like Force India, but I'm not a fan of Mercedes and not a fan of Ferrari now. So yeah, this is the last time that I score a point, and then we have their constructors' point, and we see overall who the winner is. Looking at it, I think it's going to be Mercedes that are going to win this wall now because they're so far ahead of Ferrari. Of course, when I first started this idea, it was a quickly rushed thing, and you know, I made it just because people were asking for it, but it was at round 5 that people asked for it, so I was like, right, okay, I could make it so that it does, you know, every 5 rounds or something, and it was of course really close in the constructors at that point. But no, it's gone now after round 5 to round 15, it's all gone completely tits up for Ferrari, and here we are with a dominant Mercedes lead, so they're going to wrap up the constructors, and more than likely the Drivers' Championship this year, once again. Well, it was good while it lasted. So yes, anyway, kicking off things, Mercedes leading the championship going into the final 5 rounds, and yes, 503 points, and of course, judging this from the Hungarian Grand Prix onwards till the Malaysian Grand Prix today. So, of course, the Malaysian Grand Prix, 2nd and 5th, and this is where it comes into play. Bottas hasn't been with it these past few races at all, has he? Compared to Hamilton, he's been off in qualifying, off in race pace, pretty much, for the past few races at least. So yeah, it's a bit of a strange one for Mercedes, and also the fact that what I don't like about Mercedes and what I don't like about Ferrari as well is, but we'll get to them, is of course that we know full well that Hamilton's #1 driver. We've known since day one. You know, we've known since Spain when Bottas practically went a whole pit stop down just to hold up Vettel so Hamilton could win. That there you go. That's your answer enough, surely to God. The fact is that Hamilton's #1 driver, but only just admitting it in these last few races that, ooh, we'll let Bottas now, we'll let Bottas play #2. Fuck off, he's been #2 since start. The thing that annoys me is they deny it like Ferrari deny it, and this is the big thing that annoys me. So yes, I am rating them on terms of race results, but I think the more important thing is the moral issue with these teams. The top teams, the moral issues just piss me off. Because morally, it's wrong to deny that you're a second driver when clearly everyone knows that you're a second driver, for fuck's sake. I know Bottas weren't going to win this championship this year, even if he had a chance. I knew he wasn't gonna. You know, because Hamilton is Mercedes' golden boy, just like Ferrari's, you know, Vettel is the golden shower there. So, you know, it's just beggars belief, really. So, you know, that's what pisses me off with these teams, and it's become more apparent these last few races. And they made their announcement, I think, at the last time out in Singapore, that that's what was going to happen from now on. So there you go. That's what I think anyway. So this is where I'm going to rate them, but I'm rating them on their performance, which has been, Hamilton's been good, but we knew that anyway. And Bottas has been off the pace of Hamilton, but is that because he's the second driver and probably thinks, you know what, fuck it, I can't be bothered anymore. And I think a little bit of that is down to that, you know, but that's just my opinion, and I know in the comment section I'll get highly disregarded and disagreed with, because I know some Hamilton fans will go, oh no, it's not like that at all. It is, and it is like that with Ferrari as well, so we'll get to Ferrari in a minute, because Ferrari have pissed me off more than Mercedes have, but Mercedes have still pissed me off. So Mercedes, yes, your race results haven't been too bad, but we know Bottas is the second driver. Don't try fucking blagging it until, like you have done now, and then announce it. Fuck off, not having it. So Mercedes, you're going to get only 35 points, because yes, your racing's been good, but your team morale and you just shit. You just annoy me. Toto Wolff pisses me off as well. Anyway, that's that one done. So Ferrari, they've annoyed me more. Especially in terms of the Singapore incident was the big turning point for me. Yes, we know he's golden boy. We're aware of that. He always has been and always will be Ferrari's golden shower, because he came in 2015 and won a race or two. Wow, magic. There you go. But, you know, Raikkonen has opportunities to win and has had chances to do a lot better. You know, of course, Monaco, the big talking point where it was a pit stop strategy that favoured Vettel, you know, so people had arguments and disagreements with that. I know that Kimi knew he was second driver and let him through, whether it was a team order or not. But there we go. But yeah, like I said, we're moving on now to the Singapore incident, and the Singapore incident is just the pinnacle for me for Ferrari, which is basically Raikkonen gets a good start, golden shower gets an average start, and he can squeeze Verstappen into the side of Raikkonen, taking them both out of the race, both Ferraris and Verstappen out of the race, as well as Alonso. And all that Ferrari do is defend him. All they do is defend Vettel. If he was my driver, I would get him up by that truck, side of the truck, scruff at neck, and I would literally punch his head in. Because that driving is not allowed in Formula 1, let alone against your teammate and other rivals. Just driving like a knob is not allowed. And, you know, I just don't feel like it's fair that Ferrari are constantly putting Kimi down. You know, he's the second driver, of course, we know it, we all do. He has been since day one, same as Bottas. But, you know, it's the fact that they just deny it, but they don't deny it as such, but they do try and say, oh no, that's not the case, that's not the case. But, yeah, it fucking is. But the problem is that Raikkonen could have got good results. Singapore, he'd have been leading into turn 1, without a doubt, without that incident. But Vettel fucks it up. You know what I mean? We've had situations where he's almost been pole, but not quite. Did he just lift off the throttle a little bit, going around a corner, just so it wasn't pole? Possibly. You know, we've had results where, yeah, we have had some times where Kimi has been quiet in a race and been nowhere in comparison with Vettel. You know, and Bottas has had that as well. But is that just a bit of can't be arsed to light us because they know they're the second driver and they know even if they challenge their teammate that they're going to be dropped back? Of course it does. Of course that's what it means. So, you know, and like I said, the Singapore was a big turning point for me where I just lost all my respect for Ferrari. I lost my respect for Vettel ages ago, but I still had respect for the team Ferrari. But now their morals have just completely gone out the window and they've gone to the wall and gone, do you know what, fuck this. Ferrari, we have got Sebastian Vettel as our golden shower and Raikkonen, you're just playing number 2 pal, and we can see that Vettel does no wrong. And for that very reason, Ferrari are getting disqualified from the cruel wall. Ferrari are getting disqualified from the team cruel wall because I am sick of their shit. And it's as simple as that. So that means that they're going to be disqualified there as well. I'm not even going to add their points up. They're gone. They're out of it. Couldn't give a shit. Next up is Red Bull. Red Bullingtons. Of course, a strong weekend in Malaysia, a 1 and a 3. Ricciardo's had plenty of podiums. Verstappen still had his reliability issues, such as Spa. And then he had incident at Monza, didn't he, with Massa, and that only meant he scored a point. And they had, obviously, the penalties after he qualified like 3rd, and he had started back at grid. You know, we're still having reliability issues with Red Bull, but when they get it together, they do well, 1 and 3. So it does show that the car has improved, the pace has improved, or that the rivals haven't developed as much, so they've slipped back. But either way, Red Bull have got the pace there, but you know, they're now on 270 points. They're miles ahead of Force India. If we were judging 5 races ago, Force India were snapping at their heels, but Force India fucked it up for themselves. And, you know, it looks like there was a strong possibility Force India could overtake at one stage where, you know, Force India were getting double points finishes more often than not. And then, of course, Red Bull always having a car retiring, always Verstappen. But then, you know, Force India keep hitting self-destruct, and for Red Bull have always been there to get the better results. So Red Bull for me have made a solid improvement, especially at Malaysia, but of course, you know, Verstappen's bad luck has to be brought, you know, into question with his reliability still and just his general bad luck in racing. Of course, Singapore getting taken out, you know. But yeah, for Red Bull for me personally are the biggest improvers so far on the wall, and I'm going to score them a respectable 75 points because I genuinely feel like they have done a solid job now. And I know people will say, well, you're just taking into consideration Malaysia, but no, I'm not. You know, you think Ricciardo's been getting the podium still. You know, Verstappen has had bad luck in accidents, but the reliability is still there a little bit, but, you know, it has improved. They've walked it now. They're guaranteed P3 in the constructors. All but mathematically, but we know realistically they've got it. You know, whereas before, 5 races ago, Force India was snapping at their heels, so they made a good improvement there. So next up is Force India, my favourite team, of course. And what's happened in the last 5 races? They've hit each other again, haven't they? Of course they have. And what has this meant? Well, it means now that unfortunately they are no longer allowed to race each other and they're on their own. And the team will make the decisions for them. And what's that done? Well, it's meant that they get double points finishes again. Let's not forget that Perez has only had 2 retirements this season, and those 2 retirements are as a result of contact with Ocon. Once at Azerbaijan and once at Belgium. So, you know, that's proving that the car is reliable. But silly things like that have cost them and let them slip back from Red Bull. I don't think Force India in the end would have got Red Bull, but I think they'd have been a shitload closer now than what they are. I mean, they're a whopping 137 points behind now. They weren't that 5 races ago, and they certainly wouldn't have been that had they had the double podium at Azerbaijan, and had they had a 6th and 7th finish at Spa, which was on the cards more than guaranteed, so they hit each other. Then it just led to a P8 and nothing. So, you know, lost points, losing points there. You know, I think it would have been closer, and I think it has still been realistic that they could have got P3 at this stage had they not had their incidents and accidents and had their disagreements. You know, but the team, other than that, have been fine. They've been solid double points finishes all the time. Ocon struggled these last couple of races, just bagging a couple of P10s, just a solitary point. But apart from that, it's been really, really consistent. It's not been too bad. But yeah, so Force India, my favourite team. I am going to up your score slightly to 80, but I feel there could have been more there. I think you could have been on for another 100 points there had you been snapping at the heels of Red Bull still at this stage. So next up is Williams, 65 points, so almost double the points behind Force India there for P5. And this race weekend with getting 7th and 8th has meant that they've pulled away now from Toro Rosso for P6 in the Constructors, which is decent. That's what they need to do. So Williams are battling for that P5 with Toro Rosso, Renault, Haas and possibly even McLaren Honda. There's 5 races left and the points difference between them is only 42 points between 5th and 9th in the Constructors' Championship. So 5 races left to go. That's more than realistic. It takes another crazy race like we had at Singapore or Azerbaijan and get a double points finish up there. They're back in it. So they have gapped him a little bit this time, which is good to see, but they're still not safe. They're 13 points ahead of Toro Rosso at this stage, mainly because of what they did this race, you know, with 7th and 8th. Sorry, 8th and 9th, which was 6 points there over. So, you know, they've got into double figures just because of Malaysia at the moment. So what do I rate Williams as? Well, they're improving double points finishes. The qualifying pace has still vanished, still out in Q1 or at the bottom half of Q2 if they do get through. So Williams, for me, I'm going to score them 65 points again, I think. 65 points again for Williams. Because yes, they are breaking away slightly, but they cannot rest on their laurels. They've really, really got to attack and push now. They need this P5 in the Constructors. So they've got to really, really push. Next up is Toro Rosso, 52 points, 13 points behind Williams, and only 10 points clear of Renault, the next rivals in 7th. Of course, this again is big, big news for Toro Rosso, swapping their driver Danny Kvyat for Pierre Gasly this weekend at Malaysia, the weekend just gone. And where do I see Toro Rosso? Well, they've certainly improved. P4 for Carlos Sainz at Singapore. Kvyat stuck it in the wall and he was ahead of Sainz, so it could have been, again, that was a turning point for the Constructors, and I personally believe that is why Toro Rosso let Kvyat go, because that was a race that proved that, shit, you have cost us a lot of points. You know, Carlos Sainz has scored 48 points against Kvyat's 4 at the moment. Okay, so Gasly didn't score this weekend, but it didn't look like Toro Rosso were going to anyway. But yeah, Toro Rosso overall have made a good step forward, and they've made a good step forward personally in getting rid of Danny Kvyat. So for getting rid of Danny Kvyat, and yes, you are close to Williams in the Constructors, but again, can't rest on your laurels, get these points in. You know, this is going to be really, really crucial. This battle to 4th to 9th, maybe 4th to 8th, but 4th to 9th at a push, if a certain team keeps going at the way they're going, it could get really interesting. So Toro Rosso, I'm going to score you 85 points, because I think you did really, really well these last few races, and mainly because you've got rid of Kvyat. Next up is Renault in P7 on 42 points, and again they're 23 points behind Williams, still doable. They had a bad race at Malaysia, no points there, and Hülkenberg could have got within the top 10 easily. They've still got Palmer, so he's not going to really do much. Yes, he did score 8 points at Singapore. Wow. Hülkenberg could have got a podium before he had that pressure issue, hydraulic pressure issue, where he had to pit. You know, and it's just been bad luck by Hülkenberg. But, you know, Hülkenberg's still the only driver to score the majority of those points. You know, 42, it's 34 and 8. You know what I mean? It's just stupid, really. I'm disappointed that Renault haven't got rid of Palmer yet. And again, this is showing they should easily be in 5th in the Constructors. I think that car is faster than the Williams, personally speaking. But bad luck for Hülkenberg, reliability issues, and of course the fact they've got Palmer is costing them heavily. So, you know, Renault, I am going to score you more than 25 this time around. I'm going to score you 45, but that is just because, you know, that's because of Hulkenberg's efforts, no one else's. Next up is Haas. Now, they've been incredibly erratic, mainly the likes of K-Mag and even Grosjean. The pair have both been really, really bad. They have scored a few points, but not a lot. They're on 37 at the moment, only 5 behind Renault, and this is why it's crucial. You know, the Haas could be up in 6th, I personally believe, but you've had the likes of K-Mag at Spa, where he was running in the top 10 behind safety car, then outbraked himself, and that led him to drop to the back of the grid, had to pit for new tyres because he flat spotted them, and you could have had double points finish there, you know. And it's been silly incidents like that. I mean, it's such as Singapore, you know. They had a great drive, K-Mag and Grosjean, but they weren't up there, and I think they should do. They're out in Q1 at Malaysia, so obviously the qualifying pace has gone to shit. You know, Grosjean's still really, really erratic. I mean, Malaysia sums it up completely. You know, K-Mag got up to 9th. Grosjean went down to 18th. And then, by the end of the race, they'd both come together and were 12th and 13th. And you're just like, how can one car shoot up from 16th to 9th? The other car drops down to 18th from 17th. And then you both end up around about in the same place, but it's outside the points. It's just crazy. It really is erratic from Haas. And yes, you know, you can say they've done better than last season. Yeah, they've not had the sparkling results, but they've been more consistent with their point scoring, although it is erratic when they get them. It's by an erratic manner. It's not like a strategy that you think, oh, Haas will get points this weekend, they're looking strong. You genuinely don't know where they are. You don't know how to judge them, because they're just all over the place. You'll have one car up, one car down, then that car will go up, that car will go down, that car will go over there, that one will go over there, that one will spear itself off into the wall, that one will carry on, that one won't. Then it's just mad. Really is mad. It's the most confusing team on the grid for me, personally, in terms of where their pace actually is. You know, the reliabilities, and they've had issues. K-Mag retired at Singapore, you know, but in terms of pace, it's really difficult to judge. You know, Renault, I personally believe, are faster than Williams, because, you know, Williams have been getting knocked out in Q1, Q2. You know, Hulkenberg more often than not has been getting into Q3. So I can see that car's got potential to be faster. It's just been unlucky with results and reliability. But Haas, where the frig do you put them? They're 8th in the constructors. Is that because the car's genuinely the 8th fastest, or is it because they're the 4th fastest but they're just dicking around? I don't know. It's really strange. It's same with the brakes and things, but really, really bizarre. So for that reason, Haas, you're going down and you're only getting 40 points. Because it is just bizarre. It's just bizarre. But it's close to the constructors, so by the final race here, they might have more points than the other teams and get to overtake them. We'll wait and see on that. 9th in the constructors, and this is the bit of a squeeze to maybe make it into this little battle, but they're on 23 points at the moment. It's McLaren Honda. Based on the last 2 races, we've had Van Dorn 7th and 7th at Singapore and Malaysia. Singapore was qualified top 10, you know, both qualified top 10 there, both qualified top 10 at Malaysia. Alonso's just not had the luck those races, unfortunately. But 23 points, 14 points behind Haas. If Haas carry on how they're carrying on, McLaren could get them. And, you know, they're only a further 5 points then behind Renault. So, you know, they're 14 points behind, the 18 points. They're only 19 points behind Renault. 14 points behind Haas, 19 points behind Renault. That is more than doable if they keep popping in those 7th, 8th places. You know, if they get a double finish, Renault have the unluckiness that they've had these past 2 races. Has to keep doing what they're doing. They could get 7th in the end. You know, Toro Rosso might be a bit of a push, but they are in that battle. So this is my biggest scorer and biggest improver. No points there because you were absolute dog shit, McLaren Honda. Scored you 2 points there because that's all you'd scored, and you were behind, you know, Sauber, and you were dog shit. But look at this now. You've scored 21 points in the last 5 races. 21 points in the last 5 races. That's showing massive improvement. Yes, I'm aware that Honda are going to Toro Rosso next year, so is that good news for Honda and the Toro Rosso partnership? Potentially, because it seems like they've finally got their act together, but it's just too little too late. But they are my biggest improvers this season, and I'm going to give them a solid 89 points. I don't think it quite deserves 90, but 89 points there. And last but not least, Sauber. with still their 5 points. The last time they scored was Azerbaijan with 1 point with Verline. Now, you saw the pace at Spain that Verline had and the strategy. I mean, Verline finished 8th and Marcus Ericsson 11th that race. So that was close to a double points finish for him. A race where there wasn't much retirements. Yeah, okay, Kimi went out and Verstappen went out, but, you know, that's part of racing. You know, there weren't as if there were only 11 cars finished. You know what I mean? Whereas, you know, Azerbaijan, it was a crazy race, and to only scrape a point, yeah, okay, but it's a straight line circuit. They got last year's Ferrari engine in the back of it. They scored a point. But since then, they have been firm backmarkers, getting lapped twice compared to everyone else's. 1 lap, or, you know, none at all sometimes. And yeah, the strategy's just been all over the place. Singapore was terrible. They did like 5 pit stops each. They put extreme wets on, went in extreme wets again, even though the track were dry, and then put inters on when track were dry, put slicks on, then it started raining again. He's just like, what the fuck are you doing? But yeah, Sauber, really poor effort, I must admit, from a team's point of view. I think they're probably concentrating on next year. We had the changeover of bloody Manish Kattelborn and Frederick Vasseur, is it? The other guy that came in to swap him. To swap Manisha, so they've had that going on and they've had that to deal with, I can understand, but the car just really hasn't been doing much, has it? So unfortunately, Sauber, I think you're going to remain firmly at the back of this cruel wall as well, because I can't see you doing anything sparkling. But I'll tell you what I'm gonna do, actually, Sauber, just because I think that you're focusing on next year's car, and this is the only reason why you're so far back now. I'm going to score you 41 points in the hope and to give you a chance of not finishing last on my cruel wall. That's the only reason. But, you know, by the time you add other people's points, if you don't score anymore, you're at the back. But I've given you hope, Sauber. So put your ideas up, get some more points in, come on. You might be able to qualify 19th or 20th. You just need another crazy race and you've got some points. So come on, Sauber, let's put your ideas up. Let's finish on a high, you know. Let's do this. So there you go, guys. This was the final episode of the Cruel Wall team review, where I scored the drivers, the teams, myself, of course. All we'll do in the totals is add their final championship scores to the ones I've scored them, except for Ferrari. And yeah, and then of course we'll see where we get to and see who the winner is. So thanks a lot for watching, guys. Thanks so much for the support with this series, and yeah, thanks a lot for watching and much love. Ta-ra.